insurance.
The irony is
Like, if the
that
IC can insure you up to 250,000
Not
on
here.
certain accounts. I can insure you up to $5 million.
just put it that way.
So I can get my insurance. Well,
We've been together long enough.
CFPB
He
can
was thinking that
left out
we were going to have a finance committee
And so
meeting
now
to
we
discuss
part of
something
this
that we don't
register,
have all the facts yet.
which is like
So it's
Better
kind of
Business
hard to
Bureau.
discuss.
Yeah.
And
And
they're
he
saying
texted
you don't have to
me
go back
at
7 years
4:30
and any
today,
sort
kind of
of
like,
complaint
what's going
or
on?
legal action.
So I had to break the
employees
news
ever
to him at
filed against
4:30
you.
today that it's
You
like,
now
yeah,
have
dude,
to
it's
put
not
on this thing
happening.
and it becomes public record.
And
Absolutely.
I thought he
First of
had
all,
covered
if they
an
file an
email
action,
that went out
you
Friday
know, second of all, that seems
about
like
it,
an report from
and
them.
when I went back and looked at the email, he went down to the administration and me, and didn't go out to everybody. And so I was like,
It's stupid, like.
and it was
all
one of
this
those,
stuff
I
is
was
public record, but it's
presuming
like
that
they
he
want
was
it
gonna
to
send out to
in
everybody
one
because it's
place,
basically saying that the
easy.
finance committee meeting that was
It's
supposed to happen wasn't gonna happen. So,
Employees or.
which nobody even knew that was gonna happen because it was enforced from the entire weekend.
Crap that,
So in any event, so if he's
whether
not
it's true,
true,
untrue, it doesn't matter.
no part of the stinks that when TIRC legislation has got, it's a
But all the
three-reader
federal,
thing,
but all the federal
but
credit
Steve's
unions
got to
don't have
accuse
to do
himself
that.
because
Oh,
three of the applicants
just
seem
wrong.
have his
So that's what we're fighting.
It's
I
just
think Jonathan said as long as it passes the second meeting in September, we're good on that one.
Looks like the feds are trying to give themselves more
We got justified their
existence, exactly right. Okay.
The hush fell over the crowd. 7 p.m.
Well, the excitement of me starting at 7 o'clock instead of 7:30.
Takes my breath away. Doesn't take my words away.
And with that, good evening, and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of Wooster City Council being held this Tuesday, September 3rd. Tonight's meeting is in council's chambers and live streamed on YouTube. And with our new time, it is now shortly after 7 o'clock. And our next regularly scheduled meeting is scheduled for September 16th. And with that, Ms. Hamilton, if you'll call the roll for the council, please.
Mr. Abernathy.
Here.
Mr. Gaffey.
Here.
Mr. Guzet.
Here.
Ms. Knappich.
Here.
Mr. Malta.
Here.
Mr. Myers. Ms. Warden.
Here.
For the record, I did not know that Mr. Myers was not going to be in attendance this evening, so I guess at this point, we should be able to move everything along, other than the one piece Mr. Jose had mentioned to me earlier that he will have to recuse himself. So at this point, we'll see how that goes for the next meeting. Other than that, we do have a quorum. The agenda will remain as presented. And at this time, I would ask you to stand and join the members of City Council in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from our June 17th meeting?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Abernathy, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaffey. All in favor of approval, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Before we let the mayor loose, we do have a Scrivener's report that was in your packet, and with that, I just need am I gonna need a motion, or just ask everyone to approve?
I think a motion.
All right.
Second.
If I could have a motion to approve the Scrivener's report as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Abernathy, seconded by Ms. Knappich. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, any opposed? All right, motion carries. Scrivener's report is approved, and with that, Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of council, Glad to have you back in session. I feel like this is kind of like the first day of school, like, you know, so I'll give my report on how I spent my summer vacation. It's only been 2 months, it seems longer a little bit, maybe, at least to me. I don't know if you feel that way, but it's been a busy 2 months. Had a bunch of construction projects going on around town. There's the first bunch, and I don't know that any of these are surprises to you, but first bunch I would say are other people's projects. The jail expansion is moving along. The Wooster Community Hospital emergency room expansion is well underway. The Lyric Theater remodeling continues on, so those are all, I think, going to be big improvements in the community. With our projects, we are very close to being done with 2 big ones. The first is Fire Station number 1. We've seen that, and again, that's one of, I think, probably the most visible project in town, just because everybody drives by it all the time. But we are very close to having that ready for tours and putting council first and foremost. Secondly, the Milltown Oak Hill Road improvement project is close to the end, and it's been, you know, again, my sympathies to the people who live adjacent to it, because it's been a major inconvenience, but I hope that the years and years and years of useful life they get out of that are going to make them forget all about, 5 or 6 months of inconvenience. But it's driven up around there. It really looks nice. It's going to be, not just make those properties more valuable, but to make those intersections safer. The roads are much improved certainly than what we left behind. And maybe one of the biggest things, I wouldn't say the biggest thing, one of the most noticeable things is that for the first time in decades, Worcester High School's had home football games without the need to pull in a septic truck to help with the restroom situation. So again, the TIF that made that all possible didn't just pay for those roads and the roundabouts. It paid for extending sanitary sewer up to that end of town, which not only serves the schools up there, but also allows for that development on the west side of Oak Hill Road, which is pretty much complete at this point. So that was a big deal at the time that council did that. That really opened up a lot of avenues for us. So I think people, the community's going to get the rewards for that for many, many years to come. We've had some new faces in the community and also some old faces in new places. Rodney Mitchell is now the Executive Director of Wayne Metropolitan Housing Authority. Again, Rodney's been around for quite a while, but he officially took over the reins from Deb Catlett. We've also had some retirements, and Deb will be one of those. I don't think she's retiring until the end of September, but she can see it from here. She may not be there yet. Nicole Williams, Executive Director of the Wayne Homes Mental Health and Recovery Board. Nicole was hired in the spring, but we had a meeting with her. She's kind of making the rounds, and during the break we had a chance to meet with her and get to know her a little bit better. Christina D'Antona, Director of Housing and Homeless Services at 180. Christina is new. She replaces Christy Kidney. Big shoes to fill, but we had a meeting with her recently, and she's that's a big responsibility, but I think she's going to have her give it a good crack. And finally, the other person I want to mention is Jeff King, is the new area representative from Congressman Max Miller's office, and we had a meeting with him last week. He came around to introduce himself, talk about the services that he can provide and Congressman Miller's office can provide, so that's a contract we're going to have in hand. The other retirement I want to touch on is Detective Ron McLeod. He retired when I was back in July, and again, a lot of years of faithful service to the community. Again, big shoes to fill. We had some milestone events in the community. Closing the Christmas Run pool. Again, if you didn't row it up in Worcester, or maybe all you know is Freelander Pool, you maybe don't understand maybe the significance of that to the community. It was a very big deal when it first opened. I'm old enough to remember before Christmas Run, that was the only pool in town, probably the first public pool I ever went to, and that's true for generations of people in Worcester. And we have Ashley here tonight, somewhere, there she is. So again, hats off to her and her crew, because they really nursed that thing along all summer. And it was, when I say all summer, I mean every day this summer. I think it was a challenge to get through it, but they got through it. Credit to them. The other thing that doesn't directly affect our community, but the flooding situation in Orville of a month ago. And the only reason I really mention that is that we had a NORCOG meeting here a week ago, two weeks ago. Lucas Gaffney was on that committee, and Joel and Phil and I. But we got a report, that involves Ashland, Orville, Worcester, and we had a report there from the Orville mayor, the Orville Director of Safety Services, and they talked about what a nice job NORCOG did of keeping things moving that night, and really an extreme situation that just went on and on. And it wasn't like a single incident, it was a continuing incident. And that's going to come up from time to time. They'll say, okay, what does NORCOG do? And I think if we're looking for testimonials, the Orville community would be quick to provide it. So again, credit to NORCOG, credit to Orville and their safety services teams for that. Now, one of those things was kind of a, in hindsight, an awful event, but there was no loss of life, which, maybe fortunate for that, or maybe it was preparation doesn't matter. The important thing there wasn't. So then the third thing I'll mention was the Wayne County Fair Parade. This is the 175th anniversary of the Wayne County Fair. There was a good showing from the Wayne County as a whole. The Wooster community was in there, which was, it played out well for one reason is we had, I think, half the fire trucks in the county, and about the same time that the fair ended, we had a fire break out just almost across the street from the new firehouse. So we were able to divert a bunch of those trucks, ours and other vehicles, to that house fire, which again, fortunately, no one was hurt. But it may have been the most covered house fire in Worcester history for all that. Some other noteworthy events that took place, the WDC released their housing study, or their housing assessment. We sent that around to council. It's going to be kind of being shared out or parsed out in the community. Worcester helped pay for that both indirectly through our support of the WDC and directly. We contributed funds directly to that. So council ought to be aware of that. It didn't happen independent of us. We not only had a chance to share that with the entire WDC board and other stakeholders at a breakfast meeting that I know some of you were there at, but later in the day we got to meet with the presenter and get a personalized breakdown specific to Worcester, because the housing assessment itself was a Wayne County housing assessment. And in the second meeting, we were able to get a little bit of a drill down looking at just Wooster City. And the second one was kind of encouraging for a number of reasons. First of all, the things that we're using to develop housing, the tax incentives like TIF and CRAs are exactly what he's encouraging. The systems we have in place for permitting things are exactly what he was advocating. The online systems that we adopted, 10 years ago, I think, something like that. And the third thing that I thought was encouraging was that his conclusions supported exactly what our conclusions have been about housing development in Wayne County and the city, is that the best thing we can do to preserve farmland is to develop housing adjacent to existing cities. It doesn't matter whether it's Worcester, Orville, Redmond, because those developments can tie on to city water and city sewer. And what you're doing that, you're talking about maybe 10 houses to an acre versus a development out in the county that's relying on septic and water well, where you're talking maybe 3 or 4 houses to an acre. So that was encouraging. We had some quibbles that I won't get into about some of the data that was put together. I think we may have talked a little bit with you individually about those. If you want a longer explanation on that, Jonathan is fully prepared to give it to you. Not tonight. But if you want a deeper dive, he's glad to take you there and able to do that. I think I want to note, we had a very generous donation from Jeff Musselman and Greg Long. I don't know if you've seen around, but we now have new Wooster City flags.
Nice.
So I didn't know this before, but they replaced an earlier set that those two gentlemen also donated. But they didn't wear one. One is big and one is durable. So now we have new ones. That's I think you could they're posted. They're heading down to the square. And, so they're up. So again, if you see Greg or see Jeff, give them a thank you for that. On the not so encouraging side, we had an increase in complaints from downtown businesses and residents with problems from people congregating on and around the square. So we're aware of that. We've increased the police presence downtown just to be more visible, and that seems to have some results. Main Street organized a meeting of downtown residents and businesses on the 26th of last month to discuss, and there were some suggestions made out of that we've implemented, so we're hoping it makes a difference. As kind of on a related note, you've probably seen the articles about the new facility opening in the former Three Amigos location. I don't think any, these, first of all, the people behind this have the best of intentions and are really, taking a stab with their own money and own time to try to make an impact on this. But as far as what that impact will be, I don't know that anybody can tell you. We're going to see. And then the final thing I would touch on that is that tomorrow night is the point in time count that's done to try to assess the unsheltered street count in the county. It's a county-wide effort, although a lot of it takes place in and around Worcester. Last year, that number countywide was 110. We know that's an undercount. And there's nobody involved in that believes that's a true and accurate count. But the one thing it does provide is, because kind of similar methodology is used year to year, is it does give you kind of a baseline number for where it's at. So it'll be interesting to see where that number's at this year. We had the TIRC meeting on August 26th, and that's on the agenda tonight. We'll talk more about that then. Transportation, I'm just going to touch on that really briefly because we talked a lot about transportation in the spring. You're going to hear about a lot of it over the next couple of months. I don't want to beat that to death, but we did have a meeting on the 27th with Mayor Clyburn from Orville and the Director of Administration, and they're very anxious to get involved with our program as soon as possible. And I think it's just the details have to be worked out. And then the last development is and again, I shared this with council, and I'm not sure, I don't think I've seen anything in the paper yet about this, but it's an announcement that came out of College of Worcester, and specifically the College of Food, Agriculture, and Environmental Sciences, about the grant they received from the National Science Foundation of $26 million to help jumpstart natural rubber production in the U.S. The program has an acronym of TARDIS. So if you're a Doctor Who fan, that may mean something to you. But it's hard to tell at this point. This may turn, it could be something, it could be nothing. I get the sense of this, that this could be a very big deal. So we may have stumbled into something as a community that is going to have some real ramifications for economic development for us and the development of OSU and the CFAS facility. Looking ahead, just a couple things. Our first Citizens Academy is on September 11th. That continues 10 weeks. 10 weeks. So once a month, if you're familiar with that. And I do think we have some openings on that still, or do we fill them all?
You're pretty close.
Okay, so there's still time if you know somebody that might be interested, contact Joe or Amy. And then next, 2 meetings from now, we're going to have a committee meeting for laws and ordinances. That's October 7th.
Yes.
And I think I'll let Ms. Knappich will talk probably at the end of the meeting about the purpose of that, but have that on our calendar to get at 6:30.
6:30, yes.
Okay. And looking further into the fall, long range, transportation is probably going to come up at every meeting. If not active legislation to act on, we're probably going to be discussing it. I was thinking about that. And finally, the Zoning Review Steering Committee has been in session over the summer. They will continue to meet at some point in the fall. They're going to come out with a set of recommendations. And when I say fall, I'll say before the end of the year, so fall, early winter. By the nature of that, it's going to have to go to Planning Commission first as a recommendation, or excuse me, as a proposal. Planning Commission will review that, and then it'll come to council as a recommendation from the Planning Commissioner with their recommendation, and then council will act on it. So you can look at that really. You'll want to follow and keep tabs on it throughout the fall. And I know we have 2 council members on that, Mr. Gaffey and Ms. Knappich. But probably worth all of us keep tabs on it because that's a big deal. And again, it won't happen probably until 2025 for us, but that's going to be there. On tonight's agenda, we have 13 items. I'm not going to touch on them in any detail at all. We'll let the sponsors do that. My gift to you. But I will say there are 4 items we are looking for passage tonight. Items 2, 3, 4, and 11. 2, 3, and 4 are not budgeted, so suspension of the rules would be required to pass those. Item 11 is budgeted, so it would not require a suspension of the rules. And I will go into detail, and the sponsors of those will tell you more about those. Final thing I'll close with is just an anecdote from, I guess, 10 days ago. My wife and I were in attendance at the Wood High School Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and which was a lot of fun because you already get more of these people you know. Either you know the parents or you know the kids, and pretty soon we go to the phase where we're knowing the grandkids, but that's another story. But a lot of these people had either the kids or sometimes even the kids and the parents had moved into town, or excuse me, moved out of town and not been back for an extended period of time. And we had a chance both before the program and a little bit afterwards to mill around and talk to a number of these people that I'd known. And you know, the first question is when they're dumbfounded that I was mayor, which I don't know if that is here or there. But the second thing that many of them shared was that I couldn't believe how good the city looked. And one person said, you know, a lot of times you can't go home because it's never as good as you remember it. And they specifically said it was just as good as they remembered it, which again, I take no personal credit for. So you know, on behalf of the community, you know, pat on the back to the community for doing that. But so I just want to share that, and so at least we get some positive reviews out there. So with that, I'll quit, turn it over to you, Mr. President, and go from there.
All right, thank you very much. The next item is petitions, which we have none. The other item of that would be communications from the public, which at this point no one signed up. So we'll move on to committee reports, which we have none, and we have no public hearings. So with that, we will jump, and we have no unfinished business, so we will jump right into new business, which at this point, Mr. Malta will be the first on deck, but Ms. Hamilton will read it for us before we turn it over to Mr. Malta.
Resolution number 2024-59, a resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to enter into a professional services contract with Jones & Henry for engineering construction services and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Malta, the floor is yours.
So I am very fortunate tonight to have Mr. John Rice with me here to answer any fine detailed questions on this, but we're going back to the UV disinfection project, and Jones & Henry Engineering is who we would like to get this ball rolling. If anybody has any additional questions, let John know. This is not one that has to be pushed through tonight.
Oh, but it is
However, I don't
budgeted,
see any reason it's budgeted.
It's budgeted.
Yeah, so
So your motion
I
is
would like to move.
motion to adopt. All right, very good. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Abernathy. Ms. Hamilton, if you call the roll on the motion to adopt.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Gaffey.
Yes.
Hussein.
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
Malta.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
All right. Motion has been adopted. Next item, which does have, will be 3 readings, but at this point, this is one of the items that the administration had asked us to move along if possible. And with that, we'll have Ms. Hamilton read it for us.
Resolution number 2024-60, a resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to apply for, accept, and enter into a water pollution control loan fund, WPCLF, or Water Supply Revolving Loan Account, WSRLA, agreement on behalf of the City of Worcester for planning, design, and/or construction of wastewater or water facilities, and designating a dedicated repayment source for the loan and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Malta, the floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. So this is a request for a large sum of money, 2.5, over 20 years. And again, this is back to the UV disinfection project. We have discussed this, and again, if there's any further questions, I'd like to forward those to John.
I'm sorry, is this new, or was this planned that we wanted to take debt for this?
It was planned, but this interest rate was,
Too good to pass up, it's a really good interest rate,
Exactly.
2.7% compared to what's,
Yeah, this is just the financing for the project. It's actually already been authorized to advertise, which we were going to do, and then we found out the time frame and stipulations with taking Ohio EPA's money.
Sure.
So that's why we're back here to get authorization to apply for this loan.
okay.
There aren't any additional questions.
What are our opportunities, I mean, and we applied for these loans before, and what are our chances of getting the money, and how much could we get?
We're basically asking for the entire, I think the current estimate is like 2.5 million.
Right.
I think it's like 2.3 million is what we were going for. And we had to put that number, we actually had to nominate this project to Ohio EPA last year. So that's the number that we went in with. It's 2.5 million is the estimate, so we'll get most of it funded with this. It's really non-competitive, so we're already on the list from the nomination that we submitted, so as long as we follow through with the application for the loan, then
Kind of a done
it's
deal.
pretty much a done deal. Now, the timing is we have to get through this meeting or else we won't get it done in this this budget year, this fiscal year, and then it'll get kicked to next year.
Right.
So that's the urgency with this piece of
In
work.
the absence of Mr.
Thank
Goldman not being here, are we looking to take the full 20 years to pay it?
I would think with the interest rate, probably.
So the follow-up question is, do we feel that the UV disinfectant stuff, is this gonna last 20 years?
Yeah, and that's actually, we could have gone longer with it, but Andre said with this type of equipment, the engineers would confirm that 20 years is reasonable.
Okay.
Good question.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly doesn't seem to be any reason why not to.
No, not at 2.7%, I mean, that's pretty tough to beat, so. So, Mr. Malta, you have
I would like to motion to adopt.
well, first you have to motion to suspend the rules.
Suspend the rules.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Abernathy. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll on the motion to suspend the rules.
Gaffey.
Yes.
Boudet.
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
Malta.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
All right. Motion to suspend the rules has been approved. You have another motion for us, Mr. Malta.
I'd like to move to adopt.
Motion to adopt, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Myers. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll.
Gaffey.
Yes.
Boudet.
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
Malta.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
All right. We can go submit that application. Sounds good. Next item will also be Mr. Malta. It is also another three-reading piece of legislation. And with that, Ms. Hamilton, please read it for us.
Resolution number 2024-61, a resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission, OPWC, state capital improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs, and to execute contracts as required and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Malta, the floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. So I believe this is my easiest one of the evening here. not mistaken.
Should be.
Yeah, we're just looking to move this forward and adopt it. And I think it's pretty cut and dry unless anybody has any questions.
Just applying for a grant, right? 500,000?
And this is to replace those water lines that we discussed in the previous months that I guess are like very outdated. Is that correct? These are the much smaller and there's some corrosion and,
Correct.
okay.
So are we looking at grant money or loan money, or one of each, or possibility of either one? And so what would the interest rate on the loan money be?
It's 0% interest on the loan. Now ideally, we get all grants, but sometimes to get funded, you have to play with the combination of the grant and the loan, and we don't always know that until at the county level, all the cities, villages make their applications, and then sometimes they'll come back and say, could you tweak this or change this so that everyone can get funded, or this number of applicants can get funded. So it's up to $500,000 grant and or loan. Ideally, we get $500,000 grant. That's best case scenario.
Yeah.
And this one is competitive.
This one is competitive, okay. It says once constructed, it should reduce the city's operating costs. Do we have any estimate by how much it would reduce it? We don't know until it gets in there?
Whatever the cost is for breaks and leaks and repairing those.
Okay.
And inconvenience to customers obviously is a big thing. And tough to put a price tag on that. You know, if you wake up and you don't have water, how inconvenient it is.
That's pretty convenient.
So bringing that up, I'm curious, is the water main break that was experienced on the block of, I think it was Palmer Street from University up to East Wayne over the weekend? Is that, because that would include Gashi, I believe, is that part of the 100-year-old pipe? I was led to believe that it was further south. But maybe
This is separate from,
This is separate. I didn't know if that was a similar
yeah, unrelated.
old pipe incident. Okay. Still very unfortunate because I saw your email from 6:45.
Yeah,
Oh,
Thanks to all.
the.
thanks to all those folks who will feel the time on the holiday weekend.
Question, is this gonna cover the entire cost of the work, or is this just a portion of it?
It's a portion. The construction cost estimate's around 1.7 million, so 500,000 is the best we could go for the grant. We are actually applying or applied for CDBG funds for Gashi Street as well. So best case is that we get CDBG and OBWC.
Yeah,
They're both competitive programs, so we'll see how it works out.
yeah, sounds great. All right. Mr. Malta, motion for us?
I would like to motion to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Abernathy. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll.
Lizette,
Yes.
Knappich,
Yes,
Malta,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Warden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Gaffey.
Yes.
All right. Rules have been suspended. Mr. Malta,
I would like to move to adopt.
motion to adopt, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Myers. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll.
Lizette,
Yes.
Knappich,
yes,
Malta,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Warden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Gaffey.
Yes.
Okay, resolution is adopted. Next item, we'll switch players here, go to Mr. Gaffey. This is a budgeted item, and with that, Ms. Hamilton, please read it for us.
Resolution number 2024-62. A resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to purchase 4 vehicles for use as patrol vehicles and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Gaffey, the floor is yours.
All right, so this is a not to exceed cost on the item here. It's for basically purchasing 4 patrol vehicles. They're, my understanding, switching to different models than what we've currently had, because there's been some maybe maintenance issues and things that they've been encountering on the current models the department's been using. So this would cover the cost for the 4 vehicles. It does not include the upfit, but it is for the vehicles themselves. The window for getting these has changed, so they have a much shorter span of time to, I guess, attempt to purchase these. And that's why there's a need here for that, so.
Any discussion?
Chief, is there any trade-in value to the other vehicles that we are taking out of service?
So normally what we do is, depending on the mileage, if they're tend to have a lower mileage, we'll turn those into like a school resource officer car, hospital resource. The ones we're looking to replace are all pushing 100,000 and probably triple that in hours. So what we tend to do then is we list those on Gov Deals and sell them, and then those funds come back to the city and into the general fund.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Looking to buy one?
I was thinking maybe I'll throw it in my name's tomorrow. Hey, I'm close to retirement, I gotta watch those payments.
All right, Mr. Gaffey, you have a motion for us.
So being a budgeted item, I guess I would motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Gaffey, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Guzzo. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll.
Knappich.
Yes.
Malta.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Gaffey.
Yes.
Guzzo.
Yes.
All right. Motion is adopted. Next item will be Mr. Abernathy. It is a 3-reading item. And before we go to that, or before we do that, Ms. Hamilton, please read that for us.
Ordinance number 2024-23, an ordinance amending the annual appropriation ordinance.
All right. Mr. Abernathy, the floor is yours.
All right, so we appropriated for 2024, $192,500 in grant money that was gonna go to the Startsman Clinic. Looks like we're only gonna be using $50,000 this year. Looks to me that the grant runs from earlier this year, July 1st, 2024, and it ends in 2026, June 30th, 2026, so 3-ish year, 2-year grant. So not entirely unexpected. You're gonna kind of split up the money through the life of the grant. So just gonna push the rest of the money into the subsequent years coming up. All right, so any more questions in regards to this? It's grant money that we're gonna use $50,000 this year, and then we're just gonna keep pushing the money down for further years.
And we're gonna be helping Viola Startsman expand their mental health services, correct, with this money?
Is that correct, Jonathan?
Correct, yes. This is a pass-through grant from the Ohio Department of Development, specifically for mental health services related to an urgent need, which would be focusing on our homeless population, especially within downtown, trying to get some assistance to help those folks in need.
Okay, thank you. I'll motion to suspend rules.
Motion to suspend the rules by Mr. Abernathy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Knappich. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll.
Malta.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Gaffey.
Yes.
Guzzo.
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
All right.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Abernathy. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Gaffey, seconded. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll.
Malta.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Gaffey.
Yes.
Guzzo.
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
All right. Motion is adopted. Next item will also be Mr. Abernathy. It's also a 3-reading piece. I don't know if we need to go 3 readings, but at this point, that's up to him. And with that, Ms. Hamilton, if you please read it for us.
Resolution number 2024-63. Resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor. Revised Code Sections 5705.34 and 5705.35.
Mr. Abernathy, the floor is yours.
Well, this is the resolution to accept the millage set by, I believe, the county. So I don't know that we have a whole lot to debate on this, and I think it's just a formality. So, anybody want to discuss it or debate it? Didn't think so, so,
My only question, is there any time, I mean, is it something that, to me, there's no reason not to just move along, but is there,
It's not like a public hearing or anything we need to do.
there's nothing attached to it beyond just our approval? That's what I thought, okay.
I do believe there's another alternative under the statute, we don't want to go there, as far as opposed to adopting the formula. So it's not like we have to take this, but it's.
motion to suspend.
Okay, motion to suspend the rules, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Knappich. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll.
Myers.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Gaffey.
Yes.
Zay.
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
Malta.
Yes.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Abernathy, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Knappich. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll.
Myers.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Gaffey.
Yes.
Zay.
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
Malta.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. With that, next resolution, 2024-64. Ms. Hamilton, please read it for us.
Mr. President, I need to recuse myself from this resolution.
All right, very good, thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes,
is this is, yeah, you said 2024-64?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the recommendations from the Worcester Tax Incentive Review.
Yeah, I probably also need to recuse myself from this,
Okay,
being a employee of
one of the
yeah,
recipients,
you got
yes. Okay, not a problem, very good. So at that point, this will be a three reading item. With that, Ms. Hamilton, please read it for us.
Resolution number 2024-64, a resolution accepting the recommendations of the Worcester Tax Incentive Review Council with respect to existing enterprise zone agreements, community reinvestment area agreements, and tax increment financing projects.
All right, Mr. Abernathy, the floor is yours.
Okay, so the TIRC did recommend 3 changes. So 389-0701, which was, I think, Bosch Rexroth, adding Scheffler to a change in tenant. We had 389-1801, which was Baker Properties, change in ownership to Triple J 1909, which will also be the tenant. And then 16-003, which is Brian and Tammy Poland, change in tenant to Fleet Feet. So those are all open for discussion if we wanted to have a discussion around any of those, but I would remind that these are the recommendations of the TIRC. They would go back and have new applications, and we are definitely going to see these again, probably at some point in October, but we are now going to go through a 3-read process, so that might even get pushed into November at this point. So unless there's any questions, we're going to go ahead and leave this on a first read.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
All right, so it's had its first reading. Thank you very much. Mr. Zay, Mr. Gaffey, you can come back and we'll just keep moving along. All right, well, the next item is budgeted and will be introduced by Ms. Warden. Before that, Ms. Hamilton.
Resolution number 2024-65, a resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to advertise according to law and enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder for the purchase and installation of a traffic signal and related equipment for the West Liberty Street and West Bowman Street traffic signal replacement project and allowing for immediate enactment.
All right, Ms. Warden, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So we need to replace the traffic signals located at West Liberty and West Bowman Streets because they've surpassed their useful life. And this resolution will allow the city to advertise for a contractor to purchase and installation of new signals and all of the materials that go into that. This is a budgeted item and it's estimated to cost approximately $120,000. If passed, it'll reduce operating costs as these older signals have more maintenance and repair issues that the city has to deal with, so I move to adopt.
All right, motion to adopt by Ms. Warden, is there a second?
Second.
Second. I did have a quick question. It doesn't really matter, it's just more general knowledge. So are these gonna require new poles, horizontal poles and foundations and stuff, or is this just gonna be new switchgear hanging off of this existing infrastructure?
It'll be new foundations, new poles, new arms, new signal heads.
Almost seems, it seems super cheap to time you drill, do all the excavation, pour the concrete, take the old poles off with the new poles in them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it's not a roundabout.
No,
One thing is, it's not a complete replacement, so we're not getting a new power service, and we're not doing the control cabinet.
okay.
And that has
All
all
right.
the,
That's
basically all
what
the
I-
brains, so that's
Yeah.
why this one is less expensive than
Gotcha,
some of the
okay.
past, like the Quimby's and up there by Gojo.
All right, now
That
makes more
makes
sense then, because I was
Yeah.
just thinking, well, this is pretty inexpensive.
No, the prices haven't gone down.
I didn't think.
One more general question. The pole's gonna be the same as the corner here at Bowman that are brand new right now?
Out there, will they, or,
This corner right here, the new lights are up, but they're not working yet.
they don't have the control cabinet yet.
Okay.
So without that, the poles and signal heads don't do anything.
Okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to be sometime in October when the control cabinets are gonna come, and then they'll actually put those in service.
That was an irrelevant question, just curious. Thank you.
All right. So we need to call the roll on that, please.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Gaffey.
Yes.
Brzee.
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
Malta.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
All right. Resolution is adopted. Next item will also be Ms. Warden, but Ms. Hamilton, please read it for us first, that would be great.
Resolution number 2024-66, a resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to enter into a contract with CESO Inc. for professional design services for curb design and allowing for immediate enactment.
Ms. Warden, the floor is yours.
Thank you. This is just kind of a little early preparation for a resurfacing project that's expected to take place in 2026, I believe, is that correct? Yeah. So it's a request for the city's engineering department to enter into a professional services contract with CESO to design 76 curb ramps at 21 different intersections along Burbank Road, West Liberty Street, East Larwell Street, and East Wayne Avenue. This is required by ODOT for their ADA requirements. And so given that we've got the resurfacing project slated for 2026, it's prudent for us to go ahead and get this work underway. The estimated cost of the contract is $84,850. And this is a budgeted item, so I will make a motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Ms. Warden, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Abernathy. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll.
Gaffey.
Yes.
Brzee.
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
Malta.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
All right, very good. Motion is adopted. With that, our next few items are by Mr. Myers. This next item, the next resolution is budgeted. And with that, Ms. Hamilton, please read it for us.
Resolution number 2024-67, a resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to enter into a contract with OHM Advisors for professional design services related to the Christmas Run Pool final construction documents and administration and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Myers, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I see that Ms. Ritter is here this evening, and she might have some things to share with us, since we haven't heard anything about the pool in over a year, I guess, since we first gave the money for the design work, right? With the contract we did before, this is the first update we've had, so.
So I've got a poster board here, and I've also got individual copies as well. This is the first design second design that we've been able to show of what OHM has come up with. So this is maintaining the 12,000 square foot of water. So that is what we're currently operating with, and that is what we wanted to strive to maintain for our citizens. Right now, we have a baby pool that is separate from our main pool. So if you look at this, and I have individual copies if anybody would like to have one, you can see the overlay on top of what we have right now. That is bringing that baby pool in, and that's a zero depth entry. There, in this design right here, there is a wall that's separating that out to maintain safety so that kiddos don't just walk right in to the deeper part. So that's maintaining lap lanes. Right now, there are no features in this design. So you won't see any slides, you won't see any diving boards, you won't see anything like that in here. That's still yet to come into different phases. So that's what this agenda item is for tonight, is to finish out that design contract with OHM. And construction administration, yep.
And then to add on to that, the pool features is the part where the Parks Commission and a couple other select members will be engaged to help us put out a survey to the community pass holders of what is actually desired. It might be surprising to council, but some of these pool features are a lot more expensive than what you would anticipate. And I'm not kidding, and Ashley can attest to that. So that is coming part of the next phase of this.
And a lot of what we've worked on so far, we've worked with AEP on electrical access, improving the lighting in the area. ADA accessibility has been a very large part of this, which is why we wanted to look at moving the parking lot to the front of the building. If you were there for years and years, the back parking lot is how you get into the pool. You have to go down the boardwalk and into the pool. Well, for ADA accessibility, you enter the back gate. That's our ADA accessibility. Well, then you still have to get to go pay. So you either have to go through the back part of the locker room, or you have to ask the lifeguard to go pay the cashier for you. So it's just it's not convenient. Then we've also worked with the filtration system. Right now we have an open pit system. We want to go to the high rate sand filter that we have at Friedlander. It's much safer for our employees, and it's just a lot nicer, a lot more efficient as well. And then delivery access with this design that we're working with, we wanted to make sure that we maintained access for any of our deliveries for chlorine and for our CO2. And also making sure that we aren't going through residential areas to get those deliveries made, which is why you would see a pass-through through the parking lot and not having to go through the residential area to get in, then into deliver those areas. So, thinking designing a pool is fun. Having all of those things. So that's what we've been working on, among other things so far in this design. So.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Ashley this evening?
I just wanted to reiterate, I had asked before the end, or before the beginning of our vacation, for updates on what we had overspent for this past year. And just looking at this, a diving board and it installs 20 grand. So we're not looking at cheap additions when we get this much of it done. So just so that everybody's prepared for that, the general public's prepared for that.
That wasn't the actual structure. That was just the board.
That was just the board and the install on the board? Holy camoly, I'm in the wrong business.
When we sold bonds, we sold close to $5 million. Is that just for the main structure?
That would be for the parking lot, the demoing the existing pool, new pool, everything you see there, and then a minimum number of amenities still to be selected by the committee releasing those final design features and things like that.
So it's
not the pool house. Every concept that was that OHM looked at, based on the things Ashley was saying about flow, had parking lot, pool house, pool.
So $5 million is not going to cover all of this?
Correct. If you look at the budget that we submitted and some of the information that we sent back in April when we were discussing this, we had the pool, and then we had a separate cost for the pool house. And that was in the budget, and that was in the estimates that we sent back in. So yeah, there's another chunk coming in the following year if we move forward. Now, the reports that OHM did submit said that the pool house is functional and can stay, so that was just something we'll have to decide. We did upgrade for ADA and some other things.
Yeah, in 2015, the last major renovation that was done to the pool house was in 2099, 2003. So about 20 years ago. But there's been upgrades since then as well. And that bathhouse was originally constructed in 1958, so about 10 years after the pool was done.
So one of the things to keep in mind, although we're not talking about millions of dollars in a big number, the life of this pool is, 70 years. So, $1 million is $20,000 a year. I mean, being short-sighted by not putting in what we'll be proud of and just half-assing the project doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So we want to make sure that if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. It looks like they've considered a lot of things in this layout so far. It doesn't appear as though Parks and Rec Commission, Public Health and Leisure Committee, or anyone on council has any communication up until now.
April, we sent a ton of information over in April. Actually, Phil sent that.
Yeah.
All the reports, preliminary layouts, cost estimates, and all those things.
But we haven't had any committee meetings or any group discussions about any of this.
No,
It's all been done
most of it was
privately, secretly by you guys, right?
No, most of it was the things that Ashley was talking about, which were things like access and where to drive, chemical trucks and how do we access filter rooms, and the stuff that's most people don't think about when they go to a pool, how to get a zero entry in, those kinds of things, which has got us to this point now. Now this is where we need input on what's this going to look like, how it's going to be laid out, what amenities we're going to have, those kinds of things.
Yeah, there's a lot of site design, so I was involved reviewing that, utilities, things that aren't necessarily fun and exciting, but ancillary to the pool and necessary. So there was a lot of work that went into reviewing the design and working on that.
And it sounds like what you've looked at, which makes sense to me, is to lay the groundwork for an efficient layout for the whole site so that people can get in more easily, get in and out more easily. The handicap accessibility is super important, and just to make it easier for people to come in. And I agree with Scott, if we're going to do this, we should do it right because it's going to be a long-term project. But I don't think we've even gotten to the extras and the amenities yet. We're just looking at site layout for right now. Is that correct? I think this is good. Thank you.
I'm just curious, is there any plan for it? I think it's like the existing parking lot there's nothing on it right now, so is that just turned back over to nature, or?
So what we had planned on doing is making that into green space. Right now, the only green space we have is on a very steep hill. So what our thought process there was, and that's part of the design planning too, is that best used as a green space for people that want to lay out, to put some picnic tables back there, as a pavilion and get used there. That's where, is there a need for that to be an all year round, can you park somewhere in there? So those are like design areas where we are gonna later on look at, but yeah, green space. Because that deck space may get lessened, dependent on the designs and everything like that. But yeah, right now, if you go to lay out in the grass, you gotta lay out on a hill. There's no real grass space to lay out in. So that could be a really nice addition. And then later on down the road, adding some shade. Adding some trees and some shade. And that's another part of this too, is, consciously remembering that we need to maintain that green space out front. If we're gonna put a parking lot someplace, I think in people's minds, the first thought is, where are all those trees gonna go? But really maintaining, moving some of those trees and then planting new as well. So,
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions or? Okay, the meeting's, oh,
Sorry,
yes,
Mr. Myers, real quick. When can we expect the final assignment for the pool?
well, if this gets approved, then we're gonna move pretty quickly. Because construction, we're hoping to start next year. So, or demolition.
Sounds good.
so you're not planning to start for another 6 or 8 months?
Potentially.
Okay. Anything else? All right, well, then we'll consider resolution 2024-67 as having had its first reading.
Okay. That's first reading. All right, with that, we'll move on to resolution 2024-68. And Ms. Hamilton, please read that for us.
Resolution number 2024-68, a resolution authorizing the Director of Finance to expend additional funds with community action of Wayne Medina counties for the provision of transportation services for qualified participants and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Myers, the floor is yours.
Thank you. As Mr. Reynolds there pointed out, there's a number of transportation-related items that we're going to be discussing. I'm assuming since I was your last individual meeting with council, Mr. Mayor, Joel, that you've covered this topic with fellow council members as you did with me. I will open this up for questions. I don't know, is this not budgeted, or does this need to be rules suspended, or?
No, it's budgeted.
Okay.
I mean, basically, it's budgeted based on
So is the last.
the shortages of, well, we had what, 13 projects that were under bid?
So it's basically in the.
So basically, it's $100 and some thousand that we ended up saving on those 13 projects. And so ultimately, this money then will be,
Replacing that. So we don't need a motion to suspend the rules.
no.
Right, does anyone have any questions? This is going to support the transportation program that we've been doing for, God, I think it's been 12 or 14 years or something. Right before I started, so at least 10 years. I think when we started it, Ashley was involved, and Leslie. I think we'd spent that year, out of the $150,000 approved by council, we spent $17,000. So the program has obviously grown and changed quite a bit over the years. So if there's no further questions, yes.
Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Myers, but we do have Jan Conrad here from Community Action, who, if there are any transportation questions,
We'd like to hear from you, at least let us talk about things.
she's available if needed. I don't think, she doesn't have to talk, but if council does have questions.
I thought I had
she's
to prove until then. No, I'm kidding. Ms. Conrad, would you like to say anything this evening?
Well, first of all, I just want to express my gratitude for this council and for the city of Worcester and the way they really do look after their citizens with transportation. It is amazing. I have colleagues across the state who are in awe of what the city of Worcester does. I'd also like to, just give you a little bit of insight into part of the reason we're in the place we are, and I'll keep it brief, but I think most of you know that, you may or may not know, that last fall, Wayne County Transit, that was, managed by Stark Area Regional Transit Authority, really began to cut back on what they were providing in transportation. And I honestly don't know if it was budgeted issues on there, and we don't really know exactly what it was, but it was probably driver issues as well. So they started really cutting back. Well, in the last couple of years, there have been quite a few people that living inside the city of Worcester who were using Wayne County Transit to go back and forth to work. It was $2.50 each way. It was about equal to what it would be for a pass, but they didn't have to necessarily qualify and come into our office and go through the paperwork. As they started to reduce those rides, we started to see more demand for the city transportation because the WCT had really cut back. So that is part of the reason for this. Another part of the reason is just that we have a tremendous number of people using it. This has been the couple of years that I've been here, this year has just been pretty unbelievable in the number of people that we have accessing, and not only the number, but the level of need, you know, needing more support than maybe what we've had to do in the past for some people. So I'm excited about where Worcester's going in the future. I'm interested in hearing tonight what you talk about, but I just want to commend you and thank you. And if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to try to answer anything you want to know.
Thank you very much. I will want to say too that administration, Joel and Phil specifically, I do a lot of work with some of our health related service agencies like 180 and the counseling center, and there's just been nothing but compliments for you guys and the work you've done with community action and all the efforts they put forth, as well as, and I was going to say that after this next resolution, which is also, I was going to highlight your leadership and stepping up to take this on. So again, hats off to our team and community action for the work they've done on this. If nothing else is needed to be added, I'd like a motion to approve.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Myers, second by Mr. Abernathy. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll on the adoption.
Knappich.
Yes.
Malta.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Gaffey.
Yes.
Zay.
Yes.
All right, motion has been adopted. Next item is also part of the transportation issue for the community. And before we get into it, Ms. Hamilton, please read it for us.
Resolution number 2024-69. A resolution authorizing the filing of an application with the Ohio Department of Transportation by the City of Worcester for grants to the United States Department of Transportation Federal Transit Administration as authorized under federal transit laws as codified 49 U.S.C. Section 5311, 5339, OTP 2, E and D, Ohio Workforce Mobility Partnership Program formula grants for rural areas, Ohio's Rural Transportation Program, and executing a contract with the Ohio Department of Transportation upon project approval and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Myers, the floor is yours.
I might leave it in first reading just to read that again. That was very well done. Very well done.
Months ago.
Well,
Practicing at home.
I think everyone's pretty familiar with the steps that the city's taking to reach it, make this partnership and apply for all those letters and numbers that Ms. Hamilton read off. Joe, do you want to give a briefest? I know we've all been updated on this and we probably don't have a whole lot of discussion, but for the general public and the folks that came today, would you give us just a brief summary of what you're embarking on here?
Yeah, I'll turn details over to Phil, but just real brief. Phil's been doing a lion's share of this work up to this point, but for the city it's new. For a lot of other counties and cities it's not, to have these transit programs, and that all of those acronyms and letters are where all the funding comes from at the federal level. Some of those are what we're funding the Wayne County Transit, prior to that going away. You will see in your packet a resolution from the Wayne County Commissioners as well, supporting that. And that's just the state, wanted to make sure everybody in the community was on the same page and moving forward. And we've been, I think, as we've mentioned, as we've been talking in our meetings, we've been meeting with them and/or ODOT almost weekly for quite a while now to try to put this program together and have a true transit program. So this legislation just allows us to apply for it. This is going to take a while to work through all of the things we need to, all the hoops we need to jump through, and Phil can share more of that information. This just allows us to have access to that money.
Yeah, so this is the first step, obviously, in doing so. The application period started September 1st with an LOI, which we are going to work on as soon as this gets passed. The actual application period starts in mid-October, ends at the beginning of November, thereabouts, for the next fiscal year. Until that fiscal year starts, we will utilize what SARTA did not use up per their contract. Essentially what happens is we build a budget, and that budget can be with our funds, that budget can be leveraging contracts with other groups. Ideally, once we get to the full system with the county, it'll be JFX, DD, other municipalities, maybe private. That's why we've been working with EDC and a lot of our partners to leverage as much funding. The idea is you put a contract together, this grant matches it. So if you put $1 million contract, the federal grant will match it, so you have a $2 million program. It makes our dollars go a lot further and everyone else's dollars go a lot further. The issue with happened previously with the county is the funding that they were utilizing dried up. So there was no leveraging, there were no funds to leverage. ODOT came to us, said, city, you know, you've done this before with partnerships with that whole chip. Would you be willing to take this on? So we said yes, because transportation, if you look at the transportation numbers, Worcester is a large portion of the Wayne County transit, either coming to or going from. So this impacts us. Obviously, everyone should know that September 1st was the first day of transportation in the county no longer being a thing. It's kind of a scary thing because we know a lot of the places, community act, or a lot of the places that are going to be losing workers because of that. Community action has done a fantastic job to fill that gap, to fill that need. The county has tried to organize its troops to help out with that, to help those in need in the meantime until we get this program up and running. But the idea is to get this up and running as quickly as possible, but to make sure it's efficient. We don't want to run before we can walk. So ODOT's really helping us through this with analyzing all the data. We have data from SARTA, we have our data, we have a little too much data. They're going over everything, and then they're really giving us a system that they believe can be scaled, start out in Worcester and be scaled countywide that can support our residents. So that is the plan, and this is step one.
Thank you again for all your efforts. Appreciate it.
So what are the chances of these funds drying up sometime in the future, like the county's funds dried up?
Essentially, as long as we have a match, as long as we have a contracted match for these funds, they won't go away because I don't believe there would be any transportation system in Ohio that could run without these matching funds. So every transit that you go to, they utilize these.
Every Cleveland school, Cleveland city buses, they're all part of this transportation program.
It's federal money, so I guess potentially the feds could stop the money, but I think you would see catastrophic repercussions for that.
I think some of the funds that were being used prior were some ARPA funds, and were one-time funds, so we have no intention of counting on one-time funds.
Good, because I don't want to be having us use one-time funds, build up this transportation system, the funding goes away and then it falls back on the city.
The nice thing is, they already purchased vehicles, fairly new vehicles, that are sitting there waiting for us as soon as we can dot all our i's and cross all our t's, so we won't have an expenditure.
Well, there's my time.
I'd like to just put in a suggestion or a plea. Please do not name this program WARDA.
One of the names came around.
Yeah, we go with something else.
Like I say, like.
Thank you.
Yeah. This is where my marketing brain comes in. We talk about numbers and then,
About 5 years ago that came up,
That is bad.
yeah.
Okay, with that being said, if there are no further questions, yes.
I was just going through the memo, Phil, and I noticed here in the, looks like the second page, limiting the number of taxi passes per purchase and encouraging those riders to use the fixed route. Does that mean the taxi program might scale down as we build this program up, or what's the future of the taxi pass look like, I guess?
To be honest, we don't know. We're relying on ODOT to give us a system that works. If you look at other rural transit programs, and I want to make a clear delineation that there's a difference between urban transit and rural transit. There are many different methods, some called micro transit, some called this, that. Until they have a chance to fully go through that data, I don't know what's going to happen with the taxi pass program, but until we have a new system, the taxi pass program is still continuing.
Okay.
So.
I was just wondering, looking through,
I am curious, so what's our cap what do we think our cap's gonna be on this, our total amount? And right now, we're at 500,000. I mean, I was part of one of those original people that voted that $17,000, and now we're at $500,000. I realize that there's matching funds, but I mean, is there a point at some point where we're going to say we can't spend any more, or we won't spend any more, or is this gonna just go into perpetuity, that eventually we could be looking at $1 million baseline for operation, with the assumption that we're gonna get $1 million from the Fed to be able to make a $2 million program, which would be beautiful, but at the end of the day, I mean, I'm just curious, and again, I don't know that we necessarily have a lot of options, but I just, again, with this, keeping in mind, this is now something that, if the Fed money dries up, clearly it's gonna dry up, which I would agree it's probably unlikely, but yet on the other side of the coin, we now are taking on something that we shut down when, Mr. Mayor? You remember when we shut our bus service down?
August 31st, right? Oh, you talking about the old one?
Yeah, the old bus service, yeah, it was in the 80s,
Early
right?
2000s, wasn't it?
No, it was late 80s, early 90s.
We had the Canton service.
89, I think it was.
Okay, so in any event, I mean, it's just so that we all have the realization that at this point, we're really starting that system over again, slightly differently, but yet still the same. And just so we realize that there's gonna be a certain dollar amount that this is gonna cost, and so long as we're all willing to drink that Kool-Aid, because we're already at $500,000, and I would suspect that is what we're gonna take on. We're gonna definitely consume $500,000 or more next year, assuming everything comes together. So I'm just throwing that out there.
The one thing I would say is that I hope it grows to $1 million, because that means we're leveraging the contracts from the other parties that I mentioned, like DD. JFS is a big player in this, that they're an untapped resource in match funding, which we currently are not utilizing. If we were, it would be a different story. But as far as the city dollars go, if we're spending, to get us, we'll use this year as an example, you're approving an extra $200,000 to get us $700,000. The way the program works, that just in Worcester, that would get to $350,000, because the city would only be contributing to what it's serving. As it grows, it's only gonna grow as other parties are contributing to what it's serving. So Orville, they're gonna kick, if Orville jumps in, one of the first municipalities to jump in, they're gonna have to kick in their share to match what they're being served with. So when I say I hope we grow that, it's because we're leveraging our contracts as best as possible.
So the point being, we're actually probably, once implemented, we'll see a reduction in the total cost of the Wooster City's dollars, not in the group. It's not like we're gonna keep doing the 500, maybe 700, maybe $1 million. Ours is gonna immediately go down, and because of the match leverages that we're gonna have. Again, with Job and Family Services is probably being the largest. Their money's not being matched at all right now, that's my understanding, because the county never really wanted to make that happen. So once their funds are part of this program of ours, that match helps actually lessen our total cost burden. So I agree, we don't want this to be a runaway. You and I have talked about this never-ending spending issue, but my understanding of how this works is ours will probably go down, our exposure, after this gets put in place.
Because one more piece on our current, what will be $700,000, it receives no federal money. That is just out of the general fund, because we're not able to utilize the federal funds. So
that's why I bring this up, because at this point, I mean, I think this is a good program. It's just that, again, I guess really kind of letting the general public realize that this year we're going to spend $700,000 on something that only pertained to Worcester. We have no way of getting any type of return back. And realistically, because the county kind of left us in the lurch a little bit on this, we've got this extra 200 that we just had to retask this evening, that at this point, had they been maybe doing this slightly differently, we wouldn't even be having this conversation, but in any event, it is what it is. But, yeah.
But I think that makes sense, being able to leverage the funds from the other organizations. Because I know particularly Jobs and Family Services uses these services extensively. So if we can get matching money, you know, them and that matching money, that would be huge.
What's the prediction on that matching money? I mean, we at 80%, we at 95%. What's your feeling on?
It's a bit, I mean, so the match is 50/50. Is that what you're asking?
No.
Okay.
What's our chances of
Acquired.
getting?
Yeah, well,
It's all gonna depend on, so JFS has to issue what is called an RFP. We have to issue our own RFP for the services, then JFS has to issue their own RFP. They're a part of this whole conversation this whole time with ODOT. Like the partners involved, the county, JFS, ED, everyone's already in these meetings. But per their regulations, they have to issue an RFP for their Medicaid providers, which we would have to apply for. If we are awarded that contract, any of those services are the matching funds. So any of those dollars that right now, because I think right now they're contracted with Gilchrist, they're contracted with a few other suppliers that are out there. If they are contracted under us, all of those are matchable funds. So every one of those rides. So it's all dependent upon JFS and the county approving us providing their services. So that makes it, it's clear as mud.
that's the problem.
It's likely though, because they're involved, it's not like this is just gonna be a surprise to them. They know what we're planning to do and what the benefits are to them as well as us.
And ODOT has
They're
asked us
asked
to
us,
do
yes, so it's.
And, yeah, and Mr. Ball, I want to make sure I understand your question. Are you asking what's our chance of getting the matching funds out of the federal government, or that we're going to get contracts with other providers? Because the first part of that, the matching funds from the federal government, that's there. I mean, there's a 100% chance we're going to get those funds.
Understood, yeah.
So you were asking about whether we're going to get partners in with other
Yes.
contracts? Okay.
Because even, I mean, I don't want to blow this completely out of the water and take all night at all. However, we have X amount of vehicles sitting waiting for this service, but who replaces those? And how much are we paying drivers? And, I mean, this gets, who is funding benefits and those types of?
ODOT is, that's where those
Okay,
funds
so
are
it's
gonna
all
pay for
state.
all of that, yeah.
Okay.
So, Mr. Myers?
Motion to adopt.
I think we have to suspend the rules first.
Okay. Motion to suspend, motion to now. Motion to suspend the rules, please.
All right, motion to suspend, Ms. Knappich seconds. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll on the motion to suspend the rules.
Malta.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Gaffey.
Yes.
Zay.
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Motion to adopt resolution 2024-69.
Motion to adopt, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Knappich. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll.
Malta.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Gaffey.
Yes.
Zay.
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
All right, motion has been adopted. And with that, we're on our last piece of legislation. Ms. Hamilton, if you please read it for us.
Ordinance number 2024-24, an ordinance authorizing the city of Worcester to accept a gift of land from Gerald D. Fryman Jr., AKA Gerald D. Fryman.
All right. Mr. Zag, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is pretty cut and dry, and we're spending no money, so nobody should be concerned about this. This is just to accept the donation of part of the, what I would call the brewery parking lot, and this is the third and final parcel of that. We kind of touched on this, maybe 2-3 months ago, when we accepted another, or we purchased the other piece, with the future intention of creating a public parking space. So, pretty cut and dry. Thank you to Mr. Fryman for donating the land to us.
Absolutely.
And so with that,
If there's no other questions, motion to adopt.
how about a motion to suspend the rules? Since it's not an urgent item.
There's no money. But yeah, mine says not a need for it, but motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
All right, second by Mr. Abernathy. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll.
Myers.
Yes.
Gordon.
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Gaffey.
Yes.
Guzzo.
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
Malta.
Yes.
All right. Mr. Huzay,
Motion to adopt.
motion to adopt, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Knappich. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll.
Myers.
Yes.
Gordon.
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Gaffey.
Yes.
Guzzo.
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
Malta.
Yes.
All right. With that, we've gotten through 13 items. Thank you all. We'll move on to miscellaneous. So at this point, I'll start with Mr. Huzay.
Welcome everybody back from summer break, and go Buckeyes and go Browns.
And try.
Well,
Guardians, try.
yeah, also the Guardians. We'll wait till we get to the playoffs.
Might get ruined, so.
Mr. Abernathy?
Thank you, Community Action, for everything you guys do. Right now, without community action, I think we'd be in real trouble in this community, so it's great to have a partner like that here in Worcester. So again, thank you for everything you guys do.
Very good. Ms. Knappich?
Absolutely, I agree with thank you to Community Action. We are so lucky to have this transportation system in the community. And then I just want to remind people that 6:30 before our meeting on October 7th, we will be having a Laws and Ordinances Committee meeting. This is going to be, discussion is going to be on the marijuana dispensaries, yea or nay. In Worcester, this is not a public hearing, so I am not inviting the public to come and speak. We've heard from many people, but I am absolutely encouraging the public to reach out to their council members and let their opinions be known. And I said that before our last meeting, before break, and I've gotten a few things, but not as many as I thought I would. So if you have an interest in this issue, speak now or forever hold their peace, as the minister would say. So that will be our committee meeting on October the 7th at 6:30.
All right, thank you. Mr. Gaffey?
Yeah, I'll just echo what my previous colleagues have said about community action. Definitely appreciate all they do for the community. And thank you to everybody that's worked on the transportation issue we just discussed. Look forward to seeing how that shapes up. And yeah, glad to be back.
All right, thank you. Ms. Gordon?
Thanks. Everybody knows the fair is coming up next week, and I just wanted to thank all of the powers that be that have come together to get the temporary Verizon tower down there, because I know that was a huge issue for safety services, for parents feeling like the fairgrounds could be a safe place for their kids, not having cell phone access, and even the residential neighborhoods in the vicinity of the fairgrounds. So I'm crossing my fingers and toes and hoping that it works and that there is reliable cell service down there, but I look forward to seeing everybody at the fair. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Malta?
Great to see everybody tonight, and nothing further. Have a great evening.
All right, thank you. Mr. Myers?
Thank you, everybody, for coming this evening. I just wanted to make sure we invite everyone. Larry Smucker, who had passed away, who been a big part of the swimming community in our town for many years. Swim lessons for many children learn to swim by the instruction of Larry Smucker. And there will be a celebration of life for him. I believe it's at Freelander Chalet, right? September 15th, so right after the fair. So get up, get the fair done at 2 o'clock, and that is open to anybody who would like to come. So please come and help celebrate Larry's contribution to our community.
All right, thank you very much. That's it.
Motion to adjourn, sir.
Motion to adjourn, is there a second?
Second.
Second? All in favor? Aye. All right, we are adjourned, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Can I pass this through the council real quick?
Certainly.
I live up on Burbank and Old Man. I got the letter from the city. They're gonna put the roundabouts. I got my personal reasons not wanting them, but more important reasons, number one, pedestrian safety. we still have students across there. You put a roundabout, you're just gonna have crosswalks, no lights. Number two, we built that big fire station down there, police station. Their main route is Burbank, so you're gonna put roundabouts in there. And I wanna see them get that ladder truck through there when you got cars stopped. Number three, I don't know why we're doing this. If you think it's gonna take the congestion out of the school day, all the traffic heading north on Burbank, going to the high school, the parents and students are gonna have the right of way. The buses coming up, Winkler will not be able to get out. This is something this is until 2026, but I think it's something that should be stuck in your ear now. There's not a lot of people happy about the situation. I can't believe they didn't show up tonight. I think they since it was a holiday yesterday, they didn't show up. But I just don't want it. And that's the way I feel about it. And that's the way a lot of them feel. I don't think, I'm not against roundabouts. I think the one on 83 at Smithfield Western, Brentsville, is great. The one in front of Myers Gaskers, I don't know who thought that one up. I mean, really. And I just, it's just, the main reason for roundabouts are built is for safety. I think you're creating a safety problem putting them in. So I want to thank you all for letting me speak.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Anybody else want to speak? Sorry, we kind of jumped the gun there a little bit.
Yeah, I guess it did.
Take us while
Anyone
we're
else?
thinking to
Okay.
approve.
Thank you all. Thanks for attending. Good evening.
Thank you first. Good to see everybody again.
I was thinking before you did, no. So I wrote
It's like there's no food, but no food.
Hey, Scott,
Or drinks.
I wanted to thank you again for bringing now.
Hey, no problem. You got, yeah, the one issue, and hopefully we'll probably solve that, but I understand your point on crosswalks.
I got personal reasons I'm not gonna bring that
I know,
up.
but hopefully that's what we resolve.
All right,
We have the same
I'll see
final
you.